Okay, guys. Good morning, everybody. Sorry about um, the blip this morning. Um, as the people know online, Julie's in the hospital in San Antonio, and there she went Friday. Scott took her up Friday afternoon, and they're going to do. They've done some tests, and they need to do another test. We were hoping. Scott said, if we take her up on Friday, are they going to be able to do anything? And they said yes, and it's sort of maybe. But they actually got to see the specialist yesterday, who is really good, and it's her PA's doctor. So he feels better about that. But they have to do an upper GI scope, and that will probably not be today. But Scott hasn't been to the hospital yet, so maybe today. But if not tomorrow, she does have an infection, and so they're giving her antibiotics and liquids. So that's the deal. So please pray for the doctors and Julie and Scott
Amen.
and me.
Yes. Yeah, and you. We will.
So where we left off. Last week we left off on
y'all aren't muted, just heads up.
Admit. Did I mute you all? Just as a participant.
It's okay. We can all mute ourselves because it's good right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just let us mute ourselves. Everybody mute yourself.
Okay. Where we left off last week was in chapter 22, and at the very end of chapter 22, there was this couple of paragraphs that did the family tree of Nahor. And if you remember, Nahor was Abraham's brother, and it seemed like it was just sort of out of the blue that they went through this. But what was important that we outlined was that it had a sentence in verse 23 that Bethel became.
Ow.
Can you hear me?
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Okay, wait a minute. I'm going to mute all because I need to set participant. Mute all. Okay. It said that it basically said that Nahor's granddaughter was Rachel, and Rachel, as we're going to find out today, becomes the wife of Isaac. So Rachel was Nahor's granddaughter, and Rachel was Abraham's great niece. Okay, so that's where we left off last week. What we're looking at this week is two stories, hopefully, we'll see how that goes, about basically negotiations. And so we're going to talk about the burial of Sarah, Abraham's wife, and also Rachel becoming Isaac's wife. And that's chapter 23 and 24. And what we're going to learn is a lot about negotiations in the Mideast. And we thought about when we were studying yesterday, we thought about if any of you is following the news and you see Trump has just come back from the Mideast. And if you listen to some of his discussions as he is giving the new Syrian president, quote, I'm going to give them a chance to be at greatness. And some of his positioning and posturing with negotiating with the Mideast, we're going to see it today. It is a different game in the Mideast. I know Carol, who's lived in that area of the world, can attest to that, and Scott and I, who have lived in Israel, can definitely attest to that. And the other thing, so that's one thing we're going to learn today. The other thing is that Abraham, you're going to see why he was so well suited to be, for God to make a covenant for him and for him to be in the line of the Messiah. So starting in Genesis chapter 23, verse 1. Now Sarah lived to be 127 years old. She died in Kiriath Arba, that is Hebron, in the land of Canaan. And Abraham went out to mourn and weep for her. So, first of all, we have to, then Abraham got up from beside his dead wife and said to the Hittites, I am a foreigner and an outsider among you. Give me a burial site among you so that I can bury my dead. The Hittites replied to Abraham, listen to us, sir. You are God's chosen one among us. Bury your dead in the finest of our tombs. None of us will withhold his tomb for burying your dead. So, a couple of things here. We recognize, remember, Abraham is a foreigner in the land that he is living in Canaan. And he was recognized as a powerful man among the people he was living, and they were the Hittites. And the other thing, but they say, hey, you're a powerful man. You can bury your dead wherever you please. We respect you. But Abraham knows this is the Mideast, and he knows these people, and he knows that they'll go back on their word. They could go back on their word. And so he doesn't want that. So keep that in mind as we go on. Then Abraham rose and bowed down before the people of the land, the Hittites. If you're willing for me to bury my dead, he said to them, listen to me and approach Ephron, son of Zohar, on my behalf to sell me a cave of Machpelah that belongs to him. It is at the end of his field. Let him sell it to me in your presence for full price so that I may have a burial site. Now Ephron was sitting among the sons of Heth. So in the presence of all the Hittites who had come to the gate of his city, Ephron the Hittite answered Abraham, no, my lord, listen to me. I give you the field. I give you the cave that it's in. I give it to you in the presence of my people. Bury your dead. As Scott would say, there's a lot in here. So, first of all, Abraham recognizes that he needs to negotiate, and he knows exactly what piece of land he wants. And he wants this land from Ephron. And it explains who Ephron is, and Abraham explains exactly what he wants. Now, Ephron, it says here in verse 10, was sitting among the sons of Heth. Remember, these are Hittites. So he's sitting among the founders of these people. So Ephron is from the line of the Hittites. So in the presence of all the Hittites who had come to the gate of the city, remember the other thing we've learned? All business is done at the city gates. So makes sense because contracts have to be done in front of witnesses. And then Ephron says, no, listen to me. I give you the field. I give you the cave that it's in. I give it to you in the presence of my people. Bury your dead. So once along, Ephron saying it's yours. Now Ephron has no intention of giving him this land for free. This is positioning, okay? On to verse 12. Again, Abraham bowed down before the people of the land, and he said to Ephron in their presence, if you will please listen to me, I will pay you the price of the field. Accept it from me so that I may bury my dead there. Ephron answered Abraham, listen to me, Lord. The land is worth 400 shekels of silver. But what is that between you and me? Bury your dead. So now he all of a sudden says, no, don't worry about it. But this land is worth 400 shekels. You'll be very sure that that was a high price. So Ephron's coming back, and I'll give it to you for free, but you know what I'm giving you? That is worth 400 shekels. Okay? So once again, he doesn't have any intention. Remember, Abraham says, I'll give you full price for it. And Ephron comes back, well, let me tell you, full price is 400 shekels, but you don't need to give it to me because we're friends. Verse 16, Abraham agreed to Ephron's terms and weighed out for him the price he had named in the hearing of the Hittites, 400 shekels of silver, according to the standard of merchants. So Abraham is giving him full price. And a couple of interesting things here that at this point, Scott had we had studied, and then I went back after we studied and looked at a book, one of the resource books we use, which is called Manners and Customs of the Bible. And it talks exactly like Scott was when we were studying about the customs. And one of the other things it noted in this book is there was no coinage at this time. So a shekel was a measurement, and it later became a shekel, became a coin, but they are measuring out. And once again, even the measuring, they would cheat on the measuring. But it says it points out here that 400 shekels of silver according to the standard of the merchants. So it's very clear here that they're pointing out that Abraham is doing it the right way. He is being very right. So on verse 17. So Ephron's field in Machpelah near Mamre, the cave that was in it, all the trees within the boundaries of the field were deeded over to Abraham's possession in the presence of all the Hittites who had come to the gate of the city. After this, Abraham buried his wife Sarah in the cave of the field of Machpelah near Mamre, that is Hebron, in the land of Canaan. So the field and its cave were deeded by the Hittites to Abraham as a burial site. So it's just a recap, but they made sure to say that it is completely no sound. Oh, no, you can't hear me. Okay. No sound. Can the rest of you hear? Julie, can you hear? Julie can hear. Can you hear, Diane? Yeah. So it's Virginia. Virginia, you might want to, I don't know what to say. Julie, can you tell her to maybe call in again? It seems like on that one it's hers.
Virginia, if you can hear me, why don't you try calling in again?
You can't hear her.
Call again. I got it. You say no sound.
Okay. Yeah. Can you chat her?
Yes.
Okay. Pardon me?
Chat.
Yeah, I think it's hers. Okay, and I'll look for her when she comes back in again. So anyhow, so Sarah, and you figure out this time, Abraham is 120, 130 years old. His wife is 10 years younger than her. She has died. He has properly buried her. But what's important about chapter 23 is that that Abraham, first of all, negotiated, and that he did it with witnesses. He did it in front of other people. He paid them the full price, and that there is a deed on record. And so for the Jewish people, as they read this, family is important, and so is these deeds. So this has gone through history that Abraham, and we'll find out later that Abraham is buried in the same cave. Okay, so that is the first. Let's see. I guess he didn't come back on yet. Okay, sorry. Chapter 24. Chapter 24 is a wife. Here's Virginia. Let's see if she can hear. Okay. Okay. Can you hear? Can she hear? She's upside down. Yeah, she can hear? No? Yes. Okay. Okay. Chapter 4, a wife for Isaac. So this is the second story for today. And by now, Abraham was old and well along in years, and the Lord had blessed him in every way. So Abraham instructed his chief servant, of his household, who managed all he owned. Place your hand under my thigh, and I will have you swear by the Lord, the God of heaven and the God of earth, that you will not take a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites among whom I'm dwelling, but will go to my country and my kindred to take a wife for my son Isaac. So, as I said, Abraham is about 130 years old. He's not able to go back to where he was from to get a wife. But he does not want Isaac to have a wife from the Canaanites who don't believe in Yahweh, who worship pagan gods. So he goes to his chief servant and tells him to go back to the land and get him. This expression here about putting your hand under your thigh and swearing by it, when I go to this customs book, it talks about it again and says that each different tribes had different customs of how they would swear an oath. And this was set up among the patriarchs, if you will, because you'll see in Genesis 47, verse 29, Jacob and Joseph swear by putting their hand under the thigh too. So that was a way that these people swore an oath. So he has told his servant to go back and find a wife for Isaac among the believers. The servant asked him, "What if the woman is unwilling to follow me to this land? Shall I then take your son back to the land from which you came?" Abraham replied, "Make sure you do not take my son back there. The Lord, the God of heaven, who brought me from my father's house and my native land, who spoke to me and promised me on oath, saying, 'To your offspring I will give this land.' He will send his angel before you so that you can take a wife for my son from there. And if the woman is unwilling to follow you, then you are released from the oath of mine. Only do not take my son back there." So he says, no, so the servant goes back to and finds a wife, and the wife says, "Wait a minute, I don't know who you are. I'm not going to go back and marry." He says, you can't bring Isaac there. Isaac has to stay. And Abraham says, what he's saying is, "Lord, God's been faithful to me. God's promised that this is going to work out. But if this woman doesn't want to come back, you are released, servant, from your oath. Do not bring Isaac there." So, he's also thinking, I'm going to die. So if if Isaac doesn't get married, Isaac cannot go back to the land. The promise was that this is his land and he needs to be here. Okay. So the servant placed his hand under the thigh of his master Abraham and swore an oath to him concerning this matter. And for those of you on screen, we have this dog who also is in deep mourning because Julian Scott is going. I feel like it is the Twilight Zone. Just so you know. Anyhow, so he's made the deal. So now, verse 19. Then the servant took 10 of his master's camels and departed with all manner of good things from his master in hand. And he set out for Nahor's hometown in Aram Naharaim. As evening approached, he made the camels kneel down near the well outside the town at the time when the women went to draw the water. So here we go. If you didn't know, he set out for Nahor's hometown. Remember, I started this lesson, we ended last week's lesson talking about Nahor. Who is Nahor? Nahor is Abraham's brother. So he's gone back to the family. And he's gone back to Abraham's. I'm thinking to myself, we should let the dog out. Yeah, it's in Scott's office. Thank you, Laura. So he has traveled back there. The other important part there, when he departed, he went with 10 camels and all manner of good things from his master in hand. Remember, he's going to have to bring gifts to this family to bring a wife back. So he has brought all that with him. Okay, yeah, come here. Do you want to sit there and have her sit on your lap? There you go. There you go. There you go. Thank you. There you go. Okay. Okay, verse 12. So the servant, who is more than likely an Egyptian, remember, Abraham got a lot of his maid servants and men servants when he stayed in Egypt. So he most likely was not someone from Abraham's background, but here he is praying to Abraham's God. He's praying to Yahweh, and it's obviously from his prayer has become his God. Verse 12, O Lord, God of my master Abraham, he prayed, please grant me success today and show kindness to my master Abraham. Here I am standing beside the spring, and the daughters of the townspeople are coming out to draw water. Now may it happen that the girl to whom I say, please let down your jar that I may drink, and who responds, drink, and I will water your camel as well. Let her be the one you have appointed for your servant Isaac. By this I will know that you have shown kindness to my master. Showing kindness, what is that? Hesed. So here is the servant praying to Yahweh, and he is setting Yahweh up for a test. And we've seen that in other places. God, give me a sign. And so that's what the servant is saying. He's saying, give me a sign. I want all the women are coming. It's the time of day that all the women come to the well to collect water. And when I ask one of them for water and she says yes, and she also says, I will water your camels, she will be the one. And Scott pointed out to me, this water, getting water was a lot of work for these women. So to offer a stranger water, maybe, but to say, I'm going to also water your 10 camels, I mean, that's over the top. So he's basically saying, give me a woman who's over the top, okay? Verse 15, before the servant had finished praying, Rebekah came out with her jar on her shoulder. She was the daughter of Bethuel, son of Milcah, the wife of Abraham's brother Nahor. Now, the girl was very beautiful, a virgin who had not had relationships with any man. She went down to the spring, filled her jar, and came up again. So the servant ran to meet her and said, please let me have a little water from your jar. Drink, my lord, she replied, and she quickly lowered her jar to her hands and gave him a drink. After she had given him a drink, she said, I will also draw water for your camels until they have had enough to drink. And she quickly emptied her jar into the trough and ran back to the well to draw water until she had drawn water for all the camels. Meanwhile, the man watched her silently to see whether or not the Lord had made his journey a success. So she did exactly what he had asked her to do, and the man was the servant. So the servant is looking to see if this is Rebekah, the answer to my prayer. And after the camels had finished drinking, he took out a gold ring weighing a beka and 2 gold bracelets for her wrists weighing 10 shekels. Whose daughter are you? He asked. Please tell me, is there room in your father's house for us to spend the night? She replied, I'm the daughter of Bethuel, the son of Milcah, bore to Nahor. Then she added, we have plenty of straw and feed, as well as a place for you to spend the night. So one of the interesting things here, when it says, so remember, he left, when the servant left, he left with a lot of gifts. So now he's starting to give them, and he gives a gold ring. And you and I are all thinking of a gold ring. And this book reminded me that that was a nose ring. That would have been a nose ring. It would not have been a ring for the finger, just so, and bracelets. So he gives those to Rebecca and says, Rebecca, do you have a place for me to stay? And she says, they do. Then the man bowed down and worshiped the Lord, saying, blessed be the Lord, the God of my master Abraham, who has not withheld his kindness and faithfulness from my master. As for me, the Lord has led me on the journey to the house of my master's relatives. So he knows he's at the right place. He worships Yahweh, and he once again says that Yahweh has not withheld his kindness. He has not withheld his undeserved grace, as he said. Verse 28, the girl ran and told her mother's household about these things. Now Rebekah had a brother named Laban, and he rushed out to the man at the spring. As soon as he saw the ring and the bracelets on his sister's wrist and heard Rebekah's words, the man said this to me. He went on and found the man standing by the camels near the spring. Come, you who are blessed by the Lord, said Laban. Why are you standing out here? I've prepared the house and a place for camels. So the man came to the house, and the camels were unloaded. Straw and feed were brought to the camels, and water to wash his feet and the feet of his companions. Then a meal was set before the man. But he said, I will not eat until I've told you what I have come to say. So Laban said, please speak. So you ask the question, is Laban just a real gracious guy? Once again, Laban knows the customs. He sees that Rebekah has been given some pretty nice gifts, and he realizes this man must represent wealth. And he says, because you could say he's just helping a stranger, but remember, this is all about negotiations. He says, come, unload your camels, rest, sit down, I'll feed you a meal. Now the servant's feeling bad. The servant's saying, I am not going to enjoy anything until I tell you why I'm here. And so Laban, Rebekah's brother, says, please speak. Verse 34, I am Abraham's servant, he replied. The Lord has greatly blessed my master, and he has become rich. He has given him sheep and cattle, silver and gold, men servants and maid servants, camels and donkeys. So you can see Laban sitting there. I was right. He's rich. He's representing wealth. My master's wife, Sarah, has borne him a son in her old age, and my master has given him everything he owns. My master made me swear an oath and said, you shall not have a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites in whose land I dwell, but you shall go to my father's house and to my kindred and take a wife for my son. Then I asked my master, what if the women will not come back with me? And he told me, the Lord, before whom I have walked, will send his angel with you and make your journey a success, so that you may take a wife for my son from my kindred and from my father's house. And when you go to my kindred, if they refuse to give her to you, then you will be released from my oath. Then he goes on, the servant, from verse 42 all the way to 48, and he retells the whole story that he just went through. I came here and Rebekah was getting water. I said to the Lord, show me the perfect woman, and he did. And so he explains that. So I'm going to go down to verse 49. He says, now, if you will show kindness, has said, and faithfulness to my master, tell me, but if not, let me know so that I may go elsewhere. So he's laid this out and he says, Laban, I believe your sister is the one that Abraham has sent me to get for a wife for Isaac, but it's up to you. Laban and Bethuel, because I kept wondering, where is Rebecca's father? So now it's Laban and Laban's father, who's also Rebecca's father, Bethuel. Laban and Bethuel answered, this is from the Lord. We have no choice in the matter. Rebecca is here before you. Take her and go, and let her become the wife of your master's son, just as the Lord had decreed. When Abraham's servant heard their words, he bowed down to the ground before the Lord. Then he brought out jewels of silver and gold and articles of clothing, and he gave them to Rebekah. He also gave precious gifts to her brother and her mother. Then he and the men with him ate and drank and spent the night there. So now he can enjoy themselves. The deal's been done. He's done what he's supposed to do. He's given his gifts. He's good. But there's always a but. When they got up the next morning, he said, send me on my way to my master. But her brother and mother said, let the girl remain with us 10 days or so. After that, she may go. Okay, wait a minute. We've got a deal. And now Laban and the mother say, leave her here for 10 days. If he leaves her there for 10 days, there's no doubt the price is going up, guys. He's going to want more. They're trying to renegotiate the deal. Okay. Verse 56, but he replied, do not delay me, since the Lord has made my journey a success. Send me on my way so that I may go to my master. So they realize he's basically saying a deal's a deal. So they said, we will call the girl and ask her opinion, which seems sort of funny, since when would Rebecca have an opinion that would count? But they called Rebecca and asked her, will you go with this man? I will go, she replied. So they sent their sister Rebecca on her way, along with her nurse and Abraham's servants and his men. And they blessed Rebecca and said to her, our sister, may you become the mother of thousands upon thousands. May your offspring possess the gates of their enemies. Then Rebecca and her servants' girls got ready, mounted the camels, and followed the man. So the servant took Rebecca and left. So Rebecca said, I will go. And once again, one of the things to see is this servant of Abraham was also a believer in Yahweh. And he asked Yahweh for his help. When he got the answer, he thanked Yahweh. And then he reminded Rebecca's family that Yahweh had kept his promise and he needs to go back to Abraham. So once again, you can see how Abraham was the right man for the job, and he also did a good job of evangelizing, if you will, to his servant. So now we're back to Isaac. Now Isaac had just returned from Beer Lahai, where he was living in the Negev. Early in the evening, Isaac went out to the field to meditate, and looking up, he saw the camels approaching. And when Rebekah looked up and saw Isaac, she got down from her camel and asked the servant, who is that man in the field coming to meet us? It is my master, the servant answered. So she took her veil and covered herself. Then the servant told Isaac all that he had done. And Isaac brought her into the tent of his mother Sarah and took Rebekah as his wife. And Isaac loved her and was comforted after his mother's death. And I thought, let me see if I can find this real quick in here. Genesis 24. Veil. It talks about here about the woman's tent. The expression Sarah's tent may mean nothing more than her apartment in the principal tent of the encampment. It is sometimes customary for the women to have separate tents of their own, as it seems to have been the case with Leah and Rachel in Genesis 31:33. This would doubtless be desirable where there were more wives than one. So, some of these you're going to find, with further on, when I think it was Jacob had a number of wives, that they each had separate tents because the women all didn't get along. But it was customary for the woman to have her own tent. There is no evidence of any special, but this is the other thing that we need to remember. There was no wedding, if you will. There's no evidence of any special religious forms in these primitive marriages. The preliminaries, referring to dowry and similar financial matters, being satisfactorily arranged, the man took his wife as Isaac took Rebekah. So once the deal was made, the wife was back, they were married. So the idea, there was no wedding ceremony at this time. Things that you think, in the back of my mind, okay, and then they had a wedding. There was no wedding to have, okay? The essence of the marriage ceremony consisted of the removal of the bride from the father's house to start that of the bridegroom or his father. So it's just the marriage ceremony, which as we talk about it, was just removing Rebekah from her father's house and bringing her to Isaac's house. That was the ceremony, if you will. Okay, wait a minute, you have this? This is good. Yeah, this here. Yeah, because otherwise I can't hear anything. There we go. Yeah. We got, come here. Okay. Come here. Oh, there we go.
Do I just talk into it like
Okay,
that?
there we go. Okay. It's on, it's playing.
on?
Yeah,
Okay.
okay. So Carol was talking, go
I
ahead.
just have to say that in Islam today, especially because I know from Saudi, you can have up to 4 wives, but you have to be able to afford to buy each one of them their own house. So it remains exactly the same today as it did in the Old Testament. Not exactly.
Right, yeah, but they had to have their own tents,
They
yeah.
have to have their own tents. And they can have more than 4 wives.
Yeah.
But the 4 wives is usually all they could afford.
Yeah, I thought when studying this section, these 2 chapters this week, the thought of, you would miss a lot if you just read through these. If you don't understand the culture, you don't understand the importance of the negotiation, and that there was a negotiation both for Abraham to buy the burial site for his wife, and then for Abraham to get a wife for his son. And that negotiation, and like I said, after studying yesterday, I went back on and watched some of the news conferences with Trump talking to the new president of Syria. And I thought, I think this type of negotiation of complimenting somebody and saying, we're going to do this to make you famous is still alive and well. And I think Trump has done his homework to figure out this is how you have to negotiate in the Mideast.
You can't even buy an orange or an apple without negotiation.
Right. And
You
so
have
to come in as an American and negotiate in the Mideast is very difficult, and to play that game. And so I think these 2 chapters show you that game was alive and well and had to be done for Abraham to get the deed of that land. That becomes later important because Abraham is then buried in that same place. And so it's part of the story. Okay, you guys, I did my best. And I'm giving you 10 minutes back. I deserve a flower. And I think Scott actually got off. He probably left and went to the hospital. So he's staying at a hotel at a hospital, and Julie's going to be there a couple more days at least. So, like I said, I am sorry, Sam, but I can hear Mary. Okay. Through the phone. A couple of other things to remember. Next week's going to be different too, and I'm not exactly sure. Please, for those of you who come in person, Scott and I are supposed to be in San Diego, and I know people say we can cancel and we might cancel, but we might not cancel, okay? So how we're doing next Sunday and who could be at the house, it depends on a lot of factors. So please read your email on that. My brother's getting married in San Diego next week, and Scott's actually doing the ceremony. So pray that Julie's okay and that we can make it to San Diego, because my brother and his wife will have a heart attack if they have planned. They are not flexible people. So anyhow, pray for that this week. And then the week after, Luis will be here in person. And so, he will be, and it'll be his last Sunday of being here in person. So those of you who are in Lockport or have the ability to be in Lockport that Sunday, please join us afterwards for breakfast. We're going to bring stuff and just celebrate some time with Luis. So anyhow, please read your emails this week. I know those of you who come don't even have to read their emails because you always show up, but things might change a little bit. So
Virginia's asking that date.
It is the last Sunday of May. Let's see, what is that?
This is the 18th, so the last Sunday of May. Next weekend is the
It
25th.
is June 1st. No, it's the June 1st one. So today,
June 1st.
yeah, June 1st. June 1st will be when we celebrate with Luis. Okay.
Where is Luis going? I missed that.
Luis is retiring from the Rockport Center for the Art, and he is moving to Mexico to be, and hopefully, I haven't talked to him, but hopefully he'll get up in the morning and be online from Mexico, but he won't be here in person. So that is what Luis is doing, but we won't pressure him into that. Just a little pressure.
Very
Anyhow.
cool. And sounds great. And how's Amanda's?
Amanda is doing great. She is, her pregnancy is going great. Finley's talking a million miles an hour. So that baby number 2, is a girl, and her name is Quincy, will be born the latest August 29th. But maybe come earlier than that. So got a lot going on.
Very cool.
Hey, boy, hit the gas, man. This is with 2 kids on the ground, and oh my God, Grandma will be busy. Grandma will be busy.
There you go. Well, you
did a
guys
great
have a good
job.
week, and I will talk to you.
You bet.
Okay.
Love y'all. Bye.
Bye.